What's up guys, it's Nick2, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the long-awaited endgame firepower Pyromancer build that can pretty much do every map gold on CT15. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys that this build isn't the absolute best pyro build out there. I put best for the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that, because if I don't, the YouTube video will get no views. Hopefully you guys don't hate me for that. The main purpose of this build is that you don't need a ton of legendaries in order to set it up. There's a bunch of different ways to set it up, and you can pretty easily emulate this build while you're on your way getting up to CT15. The truth is that firepower pyro builds just don't do a ton of damage, and you have a lot of pitfalls when it comes to like ammo, etc. But they aren't that hard to set up, so that's pretty much why I'm making this video, so just show you guys that it is possible to make a firepower pyro build that actually works. Unfortunately, the best pyro build that is available to us is an anomaly power setup that requires like a ton of legendaries, etc. So the main purpose of this build is pretty much to give you guys something that will help you get up to CT15 fast. And once you're CT15, you can use this build to farm 15 golds until you get all of your gear for the AP build that you're trying to make, which I'll make a video on pretty soon. Regardless though, as you can see from the gameplay, the build really isn't that bad. We do fairly decent damage, and actually with the right stuff you can be pretty tanky. With this build, I'm able to do most maps gold. There's going to be some gameplay at the end of Coliseum, which is pretty easy to gold with this build, but on stream I was able to gold plenty of other maps as well. So with all those disclaimers out of the way, let's just get right into it. Pretty much, I just wanted to let you guys know that this isn't the absolute best pyro build out there, but it's pretty much like a stepping stone build that you can use pretty easily. No camera today because I'm feeling lazy, but yeah, let's just start it off. So with skills, we're going to be using volcanic rounds, obviously, because that is the main purpose of the build. And then for the other skills, we're using Feed the Flames and Ash Blast. The reason that we're using Feed the Flames is because not only is it an immobilized skill to give us a lot of extra weapon damage in our class tree, which we'll take a look at in a second, but also we get additional ammo with certain mods using this, and this allows us to pretty much not have ammo problems anymore. You still do to an extent using certain weapon types. There's a lot of different ways to counteract the ammo issue. However, a lot of them result in a loss of damage, which is pretty much the main reason that this build you have trouble with. Also because you don't get 50% mag size like the other characters do. Additionally, Feed the Flames is going to act as an on-demand heal, and it has a pretty low cooldown, so Feed the Flames is pretty much mandatory. For the other skill, your option is between Ash Blast and Overheat. The only thing about playing Overheat is that you get a bit additional damage when you use it with certain things in your skill tree, which I'll show in a second, and then another mod. The only reason that I can't use that anymore is because a lot of our survivability comes from being able to get Weapon Leech in our skill tree, and if we play Overheat and we want to min-max the extra damage that we get from that, we no longer can get the extra Weapon Leech, and then our survivability suffers. But also having the Ash Blast in terms of AoE CC is incredibly helpful, and we also do a lot of extra damage to enemies inflicted with Ash. So if we make good use of cycling our Feed the Flames and Ash Blast, we actually can gain a little bit more damage. It's pretty much just more uptime of damage, as opposed to having a higher possible ceiling for like per shot damage, if that makes sense. So if you want to play Overheat for a little bit more risky gameplay, you can, but I'm using Ash Blast and Feed the Flames. In terms of our class tree, this is pretty much how you have it set up. The only other way you'd have it set up is instead of spending all your points to go up here and all this stuff and picking up the weapon leech here, which is going to give you pretty much consistent 20% extra weapon leech. The only other thing you'd set up is just dropping the weapon leech and then going down here, but then you end up having 0 weapon leech unless you have some on your gun, and that really sucks when you have 0 weapon leech. You kind of die. But if you have a gun with weapon leech rolled on it by default, then I would recommend doing that because that's actually a lot of extra damage. However, that's just not in the cards for us right now. So okay, let's talk about the build. So the main problem that I saw when it comes to Firepower Pyromancer is that usually you have a lot of ammo issues unless you only particularly play maps where there's humans, where you can very consistently land crits all the time, which basically means you're stuck in like Chemplant or Boomtown, and even Boomtown you may not be able to clear. My goal with making this build is something that is going to work on every map, and also if you don't have very good aim, you can still use this build and clear things. That is the main purpose of this build. Like I said, there's a ton of different variations. I'll try to mention all of them for you guys so you guys know what to do if you don't have these legendaries. The only legendaries that I'm really depending on are, it's like one weapon, and then you can kind of filter it out on your own. But that weapon happens to be High Roller in terms of in the form of Embalmer's Rage, which took me 1,000,000 hours to get. So if you don't have that, I understand. We'll try to talk about all the things. But this is what I found to work the best, is basically using Inferno Seed. The reason is that Inferno Seed rolls with Brain Eater by default. We'll talk about that in a second. The thing is that like every other gun does way less damage than a tactical variant AR for some reason. which made me feel like I had to use a TAC AR if I wanted to do things even somewhat quick. The problem with TAC ARs is that they have only a 30-round magazine, which then makes you have even more ammo issues than you already had. So I tried to counteract that. Like, I've tried literally all these guns. I tried to counteract that with using an LMG, and then you use an LMG and the LMG does 0 damage, but you have no ammo problems. So then you can compensate by not running as many ammo mods on the gun, blah blah blah. There's a ton of different stuff there. Basically, this is what I've tested everything. This is what I found to be the best, is using Embalmer's Rage so that every single shot is a crit, get crit damage on the weapon, whatever. And then Brain Eater. The reason Brain Eater is good, this is literally the only time I'd ever use this is on Pyro, because every shot isn't going to consume ammo when you're critting. The problem is that you're not always going to be able to crit all the time, because you can't have Embalmer's Rage up 100% of the time. You need to get that initial kill, and you need to get re-kills. So I was pairing this before with Reforging Bullets, where crits against burning enemies gives you ammo back, and that was actually pretty good. I'd recommend that mod in general anyways. The thing about using both of these together is that it actually stacked to where you would gain ammo per crit rather than lose ammo. The only problem is that when you don't have Embalmer's Rage up, you would just run out of bullets. So I stopped using that, and I went for something else that was more consistent in the form of Feed the Flames. We'll talk about that in a second. If you don't have Embalmer's Rage, my recommendation would be to just use like a gun with a large magazine, and don't even bother about Brain Eater or Embalmer's Rage. Use like an Air to the Desert with Killing Spree or something else on it, and then just use these Feed the Flames mods. Maybe an LMG with Killing Spree, Anomaly Enhancement, or Ultimate Ash even is pretty good. I would not use an SMG. If anything, I would probably just use probably Air to the Desert. Another interesting thing you can do is use Lucky Jinx with T3 Toxic, and then you can use Toxic Lead, and then you'll literally never have ammo problems again. But then you're stuck using a double gun that does 0 damage, which is pretty much the same problem as using the LMG, and then you're also wasting a weapon mod slot on it. So yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of difficulty with setting this up. This is what I liked using the most. You could use a Twisted Mercy with Embalmer's Brain Eater, but I found that this is just less damage than Attack AR, but that's something that you can do. If you only land headshots, you could just use this without Embalmers. So Killing Spree do a lot of damage, or you can try using Air to the Desert with these Feed the Flame mods. Oh, there's a lot of stuff when it comes to this character. The main problem is just ammo, so you really want to be able to find an equilibrium between having ammo and actually being able to do good damage. There's a lot of different ammo mods. The reason that I'm not using a lot of the other ones is because I wanted this build to be consistently good, and to where you actually never lose your volcanic rounds, because the second you lose your volcanic rounds, you're not going to do any damage anymore. So the ways that I found to get ammo back, obviously using Brain Eater and Embalmer's Rage, and then Embalmer's is also pretty decent in alien maps anyways, because you can't consistently crit them, which is another problem with this character, is if you use different ammo mods that require you to land crits, like Brain Eater, you can't do those on aliens. So then the second you encounter aliens or you have bad aim, you lose. So that's why we're using that. But also, just having 100% crit chance is pretty good by default. It's not great. You do lose some damage not having other mods. Whatever. So I'm using Brain Eater for my ammo. The other form I have of ammo is, where is it here? So I have a tier 3 Feed the Flames mod, enables absorption of 2 additional targets. There's a tier 2 one, or sorry, a tier 1 one that you would use instead if you don't have this one, where it just enables the absorption of 1 additional target. That's mandatory. Pair that with Feed the Flame replenishes 33% of your ammo, and then pretty much you just stack cooldown reduction on all of your gear so that you can feed the flames very often, where even if you run out of ammo all of the time, you can pretty much just feed the flames, hits 3 guys, gives you back your entire magazine, and you can keep pumping. And you want to feed the flames on cooldown anyway for the extra immobilized damage that's within the skill tree, but additionally it's going to give you a lot of leech, which helps us in terms of survivability. So that's what I'm using for ammo. There's other things like Reforging Bullets. You can even use Vein Ripper and Vampiric Mag with Embalmers, and that would work too. I just wanted to use something that not only didn't require us to get kills, because another problem with this character is like killing broodmothers or something. I wanted just the most consistent form of getting ammo back, and this is that. So if you're trying to get the CT15, I would just use the Feed the Flames thing with an LMG, and then I would use Ash Cleaner mod, where enemies afflicted with Ash crits do extra damage to them, and that will pretty much carry you all the way to CT15. However, the damage is going to be pretty low once you get to 15, to where you can't gold things anymore. So the way that we're compensating for the lack of damage is just going full damage mods, and I'm actually doing full firepower, close range, and cooldown reduction. So the cooldown reduction is for all of our immobilized skills, and also if we ever happen to lose volcanic rounds, it's pretty helpful. But just getting cooldown reduction is really good for being able to spam our Feed the Flames where we never have to worry about ammo, and also just for Ash Blast, because when enemies are Ash, we do way more damage, and when they aren't Ashed, it kind of sucks. So that's kind of my form of mitigating our damage loss, is just stacking cooldown reduction. And then the other form of mitigating the damage being low, you'd think you'd want to go long range damage, but the more that I played the character, I realized you kind of have to play aggressively in order to time things in a realistic manner. And also, you can't just sit at max range and one tap everything like a Techno can. You're gonna end up getting overrun. So I decided to just embrace playing close range. And this helps us if you get it on every piece. That's 50% extra damage in close range. That helps you a ton with the fact that you just don't have a lot of extra damage by default. I don't even have close range on every piece, but this is what I'd recommend. You can do long range if you think that that would suit your playstyle better, but on certain maps, especially the alien ones, especially not having nitrogen capsule like on Techno to reduce the range at long ranges. Long range is just super far away, and it's just not always feasible. So that's why I'm going close range. And then we have Sharp Eye, extra firepower, crit stack for extra firepower. I wouldn't recommend using crit stack if you are not playing what's it called, Embalmer's Rage. But if you aren't playing Embalmer's Rage, you could just use something like Stare into the Barrel and Tanner's Hat, so that you get extra firepower when you're in close range. Also, if you're using the Ash Cleaner mod, you want to be in close range all the time anyways to be able to land those headshots if you're not using Embalmers. Okay, next piece, firepower, long range, cooldown. I wanted close range, but whatever. We have the Feed the Flames thing, and then emergency stance for Golem. This is currently bugged. If this wasn't bugged, I'd just put on mitigation from death and we'd be fine. Survivability is an issue with this character, but when you have enough weapon leech and you have Golem up, you're pretty much fine. By default, we have 10%, and then we pop our skill, our immobilized skill, and we get to 20%, and that pretty much saves us. If you had a weapon with weapon life leech on it, where would one be? Do I even have one? Yeah, weapon life leech. That would help you a good bit. You lose a little bit of damage. Not having crit damage, it's a pretty good amount. So yeah. In terms of other rolls you could get on your gear, you could get status power. That wouldn't be too bad because that's going to increase the duration that Ash is going to last and vulnerable, and it's also going to make your burning do a little bit more damage. But I think close range damage and cooldown reduction is just more value overall. However, if you aren't able to get the perfect trifecta there, then status power is a close second. For the pants, I went Captain Hunter Dum Dum Bullets just for pure damage. Captain Hunter is a T3. If you don't have Captain Hunter, you could just put Ash Cleaner here, and then Dum Dum Bullets pretty much everybody has, and that's pretty good. Our gloves, we're using Flame Grasper, enables the absorption of the extra 2 targets. This comes on like the legendary pants, I forget what they're called. It's the legendary Pants of the Reforged, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. So that's pretty good. And then I have Bullet Kindling, which I think is mandatory, 20% extra damage to enemies afflicted with burn. And then for the pants, or for the boots, we have Bloodlust, which is mandatory in my opinion, and then Ashen Boost. Ashen Boost is the only thing that I think that you could maybe swap out. The reason that I'm using it, you don't have Ash all the time on the little mobs, but you kind of kill the little mobs fast enough anyway. You have the Ash, though, a lot on bosses when you're using Feed the Flames and Ash Blast, which is why this is really good. And I pretty much just use it as like an extra damage thing. However, you could swap this out with Overheat if you wanted to. It would be about the same amount of damage, but then you lose a lot of survivability. So that's pretty much what I found to be helpful. There's a decent amount of other mods that are okay, such as Ash Cleaner, but pretty much this is what I thought was necessary and to be able to make this build work. If you want to use Vampiric Mag paired with Thirst for Blood and Vein Ripper, this gives you not only survivability, but ammo all at the same time. You could use this with Embalmers. However, this is going to require you to kill things, and if you're using Ash Cleaner might steal your kills, and then the bleed might not give you the ammo back. And then you're also sacrificing 2 whole gear mods to get your ammo back, which, I mean, I guess I'm doing that right now with Feed the Flames, but Feed the Flames I like more than this setup because it's more consistent for bosses. One setup you could do is you could go like Killing Spree, Ultimate Ash on your gun or something like that, or you could use some gun with a lot of damage mods, and then you could go Vampiric Mag, Vein Ripper, and also Feed the Flames, giving you ammo, but that's a lot of gear mods for that, but you gain the weapon mods. The only problem is that on alien maps, without Embalmer's Rage, you may not be able to crit very frequently. and then getting a Vampiric Mag might not be as great, and then you might not be able to consistently get your ammo back. I don't know, there's a ton of different variation. In terms of survivability, you could go like Damage Absorber or Mitigation from Death, like I mentioned earlier. And then also if you play Vampiric Mag and stuff like that, you could go Bloody Boost for extra damage against enemies with Bleed. Otherwise, another mod you could slap on would be Personal Space, since we like playing close range with this, but it's a little difficult to min-max that. Whew, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helped. I tried to make the build as good as I could, and I think that this is pretty much the only way, not the only way, but this is the best that I thought that I could do. Hopefully you guys liked the video. If you did, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe for videos similar to this one, and enjoy the gameplay. Alright guys, I tried my best. I wanted to make this really good. I know there's a lot of different versions. This is the best that I could come up with. Sorry if I'm small brain, but I think the build is good enough. Basically, you just use it to be able to farm for an AP build. And you know what? I'm able to solo stuff with it. I'm not too mad about it. But yeah, see you guys later. Peace. If you're still watching right now, like the video. What are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Hashtag buff firepower pyro. Oh. Please. I have a family. Ash Blast OP. I'm getting body blocked. We're no techno, but we can at least play the game. Unless you randomly get wiped, of course. Gonna get demonetized now. Oh no, I messed up. That's my fault. If I just was smarter and used Feed the Flames better at when that happened. Charge into the wall, fatty. Get out of here, dude. Probably the riskiest part of the whole place. Here you gotta keep some boys up so you can actually kill the broodmother. It wasn't that bad. Why didn't it ash the behemoth? What? So Coliseum isn't super fast because there's a lot of elites that you just can't kill quickly as Pyro, but still do it. It's pretty easy. Archway is good. Stargrave's pretty easy. You can even do Boomtown. It's just a little rough. Chemplant you can do. Probably do most of the other maps, but I would stick to those. They're pretty easy. 841 it isn't the fastest time in the world, but hey, something. Very good loot. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.